We're into the holidays, and you know what that means. Capitalism. Well, gift giving, and decorations buying, and stocking up on seasonal food. You know what? I think I said it more succinctly before. So what better way to celebrate the season than to talk about some of the oddball Mega Man merch I have lying around. Some are cool, some are weird, some obscure, some you might even recognize and have kicking around your own domain. We'll limit it to 10, though I do have quite a bit more. No need to get too crazy, right? I'll also try to include stuff that I have a weird story for to keep things interesting. So with the premise laid out, I'm Wes, the Explosion, and here's just a fraction of my mega collection. And what can we start with other than collectible figures? Focus on the ones with the round bases, not the ones in boxes or the Tron hanging out in the back. They're just there to balance the display. Also the flasks, though I feel like I'm wasting an entry skipping that. Released in the early 2000s by Bandai and Tamashii Nations, these 11 figures were put out in small little blind boxes, $10 a piece, at least according to the price tag from an actual display box that I have. It's interesting to look at who made the cut, the line being made up primarily of classic characters, Mega Man and Bass getting 2 each, Roll, Proto Man, Cutman, and Airman getting 1, X and Zero making the cut, and then Mega Man 00 being the only one from that series to get in. It's a little surprising that Cutman made it in over Guts, though I'd still give him the title of the second most iconic Robot Master, so it's not too far-fetched, and Airman is meme fuel. Bass getting a dupe though strikes me as a little weird, with me figuring X or Proto Man being more likely candidates, but what do I know? Maybe Bass is what the kids are into, or were into. This was probably around 15 years ago after all. Anyway, I do have an extra Bass, so I think I did start buying them blind, then sought out ones I was missing later on. The one I was happiest about getting though was the Mega Man 00. Jeez, that feels dumb to say, and no, it's not just because I'm edgy. You see, these kind of blind box toys have different pull rates, and I'm pretty sure he was the rarest. I was at a convention and came upon a stand selling them unboxed, individually. They had 0 sitting out at the same price as the rest of them, because they were still new enough that the people running the stand didn't know which was rare and which was popular, so they were selling them the same, trying to get a feel for what was what. I had a vague idea though, so I snatched him up along with a few others I was missing. Heck, that might have even been when I completed my collection. I walked away feeling really good and really sly. Looking back, I wonder if I should have felt a little bad since I was essentially taking advantage of the ignorance of some folks running a small business, but hey, I could have gotten 0 cheap through sheer luck with a blind box, same as them when they purchased the full display box. I bought several from them, so it was good business overall, and I think I did help inform them of which ones were hot. Also, I was a teenager, give me a break. Whatever the case, these do remain some of my most prized possessions since they look pretty nice, I have fond memories of the time when I was collecting them, Mega Man was still pretty big back then, and I feel really good about the deal I got on 0, as well as me managing to get a full set. Is there anything more satisfying? Okay, the art print is deteriorating, so I need to get this in the video quick. It has half of X's helmet, lined up with about half of Zero's helmet, and contains the acronym RAM, Reploids Against Mavericks. Saw it at a convention, thought about how I love both of the aforementioned characters and how I didn't have many Mega Man shirts, so I decided to pick it up. What's funny about this is that apparently it's also a parody of some band's logo that I'm unfamiliar with because I live under a rock. Some guy talked to me about it at a different convention, saying about how he thought it was a neat spoof, and I was left looking a little silly as I stood there, blinking in confusion. I've seen other people do this. Make or rep a reference that they had no idea was actually from something, so imagine my embarrassment to be on the other side of things. And while I meant to look up the band afterwards, I forgot the name by the time I got home. Was it still RAM, or were even the 3 initials changed? I have no idea, but I'm sure someone out there does. If you want to enlighten me, go ahead. I just ask that we limit it to 1 comment. 20 of them saying real alloy metal or something like that might be a bit overwhelming, you know? Here's something some of you might recognize. Remember the Mega Man X GameCube controller? It came in this weird, not quite a sphere container that had ridges on the inside to make the blue top look like a circuit board. As for the controller itself, it's a bit smaller than the standard GCN controller, which makes it a little awkward to use, but hey, it has a picture of X from X8, you know, the PS2 exclusive, on the right handle, and the start button is in the shape of X's forehead jewel, which, admit it, is pretty damn cool. If you disagree, I honestly don't know why you're watching this video. Each of the buttons have a clear plastic cover over them, which look neat, and there's even an extra Z button if you wanted to map the dash to it if you happen to have a copy of the Mega Man X collection for the system. Sadly, in my case, the rubber pads on the main joystick and C-stick have fallen off, but I'm still glad to have one. According to the price tag, it was $30. Like I said, the size made it a bit difficult to use, plus there was a bit of extra resistance to the buttons, but I was still always proud to bust it out when I had the chance. Which was a lot, because I was the only one in my group with a GameCube, meaning I was expected to have a lot of controllers when people wanted to play Melee. There's a certain satisfaction in having something that isn't available in your territory, and even in getting your hands on something early. I'm sure people who read the original manga to stay ahead of the anime can relate. I kinda got to experience both when it came to the Rockman Complete works. Felt like I discovered treasure when I found it in a pile of video game art books and immediately bought a copy. It had a ton of material from both the Classic and X series, along with a lot of insight from the creators. Which I couldn't read, of course, until Udon split up the series and translated it into English editions, but it still had the official art, rough sketches, and promotional material that made it feel worth the cost of admission. Even after getting each of the localized versions, including an extra copy of the hardcover, I don't regret picking this one up, even if it might seem redundant. I guess it's more of that exclusivity thing, me being just a little proud at having the Japanese combo copy that a lot of English speakers are likely missing from their shelves. What's the opposite of buyer's remorse? FOMO? No, that's when you impulsively buy something that you're afraid you'll regret not picking up when you had the chance. Well anyway, back in the day, when Mega Man was a household name and there was a ton of merch being released constantly, around the time I got most of this stuff, come to think of it, there was a really nice Sigma figure. At the time though, I really wasn't into the character. Him being the bad guy every time got a little old. I mean, geez, you kill him and he just comes back like nothing ever happened. At least Wily lives for every encounter, so it feels slightly less futile. You always have the option to end things if you want. For Sigma though, I just found the guy kind of annoying. So while I picked up several of the Figma from that time, as well as a bunch of the smaller stuff, I just flat out skipped this one. When I came back to the X games though, he really grew on me and I began to like both his character and design, so this figure lived rent-free in my head, it being something I really wish I had grabbed when it was available. Well, a few months ago, I finally pulled the trigger and bought this guy on eBay, so it's the most recent addition to my collection. While I probably paid at least double the original price, it was worth it to just finally exorcise this thing from haunting my mind. At some point, I want to get a nice display case to make a proper Mega Man shrine, and when I do, this is likely going to be one of the more prominent pieces in it. Capcom did a few fancy plastic Mega Man replicas a few years back, including this classic Mega Man helmet. It looks nice, it lights up, it's even wearable. Unless you're me. Yeah, this was advertised as both a display piece and being something you could incorporate into your own ensemble. One size fits all, but as usual, that doesn't include plus size. Have I ever discussed my freakishly massive head? I'm not kidding. While the rest of me is more on the smaller side, for some dumb reason my noggin is huge. Family members have made fun of me, my mother bemoans having to have birthed me, and I can't wear hats. I once had a friend who was bragging to us about how he went to a party and people were amazed at the size of his head, him not being able to wear the hats of anyone else, whereas his eclipsed the foreheads of everybody there. While telling us this, he passed around his fedora, which rested on my head rather than fitting down over it. I'm a freak among freaks. While I'm not really a hat person, there are a few times when I might want to, and when ordering wigs for cosplays, it's troublesome when you have to choose between looking the part or allowing circulation to your brain. When it comes to my Mega Man helmet, I bought it largely for collectible purposes. I wasn't planning to wear it around town or even to a convention as part of a costume, since I'd worry about it getting damaged, but you know, someone sells you something you can wear, you expect to be able to wear it, maybe just in front of the mirror while you do some dumb poses. You lied to me, Uchi-san. And everyone remembers the NT Warrior anime, right? It got a new lease on life when Capcom popped it up on YouTube to promote the Battle Network Legacy Collection, but back in the day, it had a dub on Kids WB in America, with a limited home media release. While I never picked up any of them myself, I believe it was far enough along to get a DVD instead of VHS, and it still did the thing where you were only getting 4 to 6 episodes a pop. By the time I started getting enough money to be able to buy any myself, they were out of print, so I turned to eBay, where I found this bootleg copy of the series. English and Chinese, by which I imagine they mean Mandarin, with Melee subtitles. Starting it up, you notice two things. First, both vocal tracks are going on at once, which made it pretty much unwatchable at first. As I tried to see if I could get my ears to focus on just the English though, I noticed something interesting. That language seemed to be coming from just one speaker. Since I had external speakers for my computer back then, it was a simple matter of just unplugging the one to get what I needed. The second thing was that this was a fan dub. It used the unlocalized version of names and had voice acting on par with Mega Man 8 and X4. While this might sound horrific to some, I found it really amusing to listen to a bunch of amateurs do some silly voices, and hey, I've heard worse professional dubs too. The collection I bought contained only the first half of the first series, but I really wish I would have gotten the second part as well. While I haven't watched this in years, since I just watched the official dub not long ago and recently obtained access to some subs for the original Japanese show, through some means, don't question it, I fully expect to give this another look at some point, just for a laugh. Might ruffle some feathers saying this, but I hate Funko Pops. They all look so similar, with their dead-eyed stares and the characters' finer details sanded down, and the two that I have were gifts, so they're in my possession against my will. But you know what I do love? Nendorioids. They have detailed expressions that you can swap out using faceplates, they're posable, they have a bunch of little accessories, and I find the chibi aesthetic really cute. And when it comes to Mega Man, well, I have a few. 6 standards and 1 special. That being the rabbit ride armor accessory that I think cost more than a standard figure. Well, I don't think it was the first one I got. I think I picked up a Ryuko from Kill la Kill first. I believe the Metal Blade Mega Man was second. Feels a little weird getting that before the regular blue, but hey, I was at a convention, Good Smile had a stand, and that was what was on offer, so that's what I got. The original I eventually picked up on eBay for not too much of a markup since it was used. My two favorites are the First Armor X, because it's First Armor X, and Roll because not only does she fit the cute look best, but also because I was able to pre-order it at GameStop, rather than needing to special order it from some weird site, soon after Mega Man 11 came out, and I had hoped that the series might see a renaissance. Anyway, I hope to see more of these down the line and even consider doing a video on what Mega Man figures I'd want made, but that seemed a little too niche. And collectors out there might notice that I'm missing just one from my own stash, megaman.exe. I didn't jump on that one when I had the chance, and now they go for more than I want to pay secondhand online. Was really hoping we'd get a reprint of the Nendoroid with the success of the BN Legacy collection. As for why they're still all in boxes, I'll take them out and pose them with Sigma when I get a good way to display them. I don't want them to get messed up before then. Someone asked me a while ago if I was familiar with the NT Warrior trading card game, and you know what? I am. I have a few, but I also have these 2 tins of Jasco cards for the Universal Fighting System. This was a mashup where they made cards from various series and gave them all a comprehensive set of rules so that you could mix and match to have various team-ups and battles that you would never normally see. At least I think. I never learned how to play. Still, I have a few packs of the Darkstalkers cards, as well as whatever Red Horizon is. Also a card of some guy named Billy. When they announced the series, I ordered the Mega Man and Proto Man tins, which came with pre-assembled decks, some Robot Master promo cards, a playmat and rules book, along with several packs of randomized cards. I probably got some of the other packs as a bonus, since while I could see me grabbing a few of the Darkstalkers, not so much the other stuff. It seems like there's only 75 cards in the set, and there's a fair chance I have all of them, but I've never sorted them to find out. Probably because I didn't want to mix up the pre-made decks, just in case I could ever convince someone to learn and play the game with me. Maybe I should put them in a binder since it seems like a long shot at this point, but I'm not as enthusiastic about these as I am other TCGs that I've collected in the past. First, the artwork all seems to be either official art or panels from the Archie comic that I've already seen and have in some other form, so I don't exactly get the thrill of seeing and being surprised by something unique. Second, the characters and events all seem to focus on Mega Man 1, with a bit of the powered up RMs and some Proto Break thrown in, so the scope of the set is pretty narrow. Still, when I checked eBay, it does look like they did another set, Battle for Power, which features bass and treble on the box, and I see some individual cards I don't recognize, so maybe that would be more up my alley. But do I want to shell out the cash? And you remember my complaints about the Mega Man helmet being too small? Well, you know what they say, if Capcom won't do it, then do it yourself. This is a Servbot helmet that I made for a cosplay. Just ignore all the crap I have inside. Once it's cleared out though, you can totally put it over your head. As for how I made it, there was this Lego head accessory, as you might have guessed, that you could open the top, pour in your Legos, and the different levels would sort them for you. which I just pulled out a second ago. So to convert it to a Servbot, I cut open the base, which gave space for my neck to fit in, sanded off the face, which we replaced with cutouts from blank sticker pages, appropriately inked with I believe stamp pads to keep the coloration consistent, and the top thrown away then duct taped over to create the much more modest Servbot cap. As for the rest of the costume, we wore a blue dress shirt with a tie and 2 yellow buttons pinned on at the waist, blue dress pants, and yellow rubber gloves to create a look that I refer to as the Servbot man. A friend and I did this for a few conventions, and to answer the obvious question, no, we could not see out the front. We spent most of the time with the costumes either walking around holding the helmet and putting them back on for pictures, or if we felt a little more committed, tilting them back so that we could see out the neck opening. I really did want to redo the helmet with the eyes being replaced with the more semi-opaque glass used for sunglasses, but I had no idea how to go about that and never got around to it. Let's face it though, even if we had, the eyes probably wouldn't have lined up with our own correctly, and speaking and hearing would have likely still been a slight issue. Still, I was pretty proud that I was able to make 2 of these with my mother's help, and while I have seen other Servbot helmets done for Dead Rising cosplays, these were the only ones I've seen done this way, so this is a 2 of a kind object that I have in my collection. Maybe it is unique though if the other guy got rid of his. So that was a bit of a change of pace, wasn't it? Showing off not my gameplay, opinions, or odd takes, but instead stuff I have lying around the house, along with my lovely hands. Hopefully it was fun, and I have plenty more odds and ends, so I could potentially do something like this again. Let me know what you think, along with any unique merch you yourself might have, and also whether you'd be interested in unloading any of it. Wink. Thanks as always for watching, maybe consider subscribing if you're into Mega Man, and perhaps I'll see you in the next one. For everlasting commercial goods,